In the quiet corners of history, where the past lingers like a shadow, there are mysteries that refuse to be forgotten. Stories of nameless victims, cryptic messages, and chilling discoveries that leave more questions than answers. Two of the most haunting unsolved cases come from different times and places, yet share an eerie similarity. Both involve unidentified children whose deaths remain shrouded in secrecy. These cases are filled with eerie details, strange theories, and disturbing possibilities. Were they victims of sinister conspiracies, unfortunate casualties of hidden crimes, or something even more chilling? Join me as we take a deep dive into two of history's most perplexing cold cases: the mystery of Bella in the Witch Elm, and the forgotten tragedy of little Lord Fauntleroy. Story 1. On April 18, 1943, 4 boys from Stourbridge, England, made their way into Hagley Wood, a dense thicket of trees on the Hagley Hall estate in Worcestershire. They were poaching birds and collecting eggs, just another harmless adventure. But when one of them, Bob Farmer, climbed into a large, hollow witch elm tree to get a better look inside, he made a gruesome discovery. A human skull, complete with tufts of hair and crooked teeth, was staring back at him. Frightened, the boys made a pact to keep what they found a secret. But the weight of their discovery proved too much, and one of them eventually broke down and told his parents. The police were soon notified, and when investigators arrived at the tree, they found much more than just a skull. Inside the hollow trunk was the nearly complete skeleton of a woman, with one key detail missing: her right hand. That hand was later discovered buried nearby. The body had been stuffed deep into the tree's cavity, positioned in such a way that it suggested she had been placed there before rigor mortis had fully set in. Around her was tattered clothing, fragments of a shoe, and a cheap gold wedding ring. A small piece of cloth had been shoved into her mouth. The forensic examination, led by Professor James Webster, determined that the woman had likely been murdered around October of 1941. She was estimated to be between 35 and 40 years old, with light brown hair and irregular front teeth. The cause of death? Asphyxiation. Someone had suffocated her before stuffing her into the tree. But as shocking as the discovery was, the real mystery was just beginning. Who was she, and why had she been placed inside a tree? The case grew cold almost immediately. No missing persons reports matched the woman's description. No one in the surrounding area seemed to know who she was. Then, in 1944, strange graffiti began to appear throughout the West Midlands. First in Birmingham, then in Wolverhampton, and finally in Old Hill, a town just a few miles from Hagley Wood. The message always read the same: who put Bella in the Witch Elm? The eerie question, scrawled in white chalk on walls and buildings, seemed to taunt both the public and the police. But no one knew where it was coming from. The name Bella hadn't been connected to the case before, yet now it became the primary identifier for the unknown woman. But why Bella? And who was writing the messages? Theories began to swirl. One of the most chilling theories suggested that Bella was the victim of an occult ritual. The missing right hand fueled speculation about the Hand of Glory, a piece of folklore in which a severed hand was used by thieves or witches to cast spells or gain supernatural power. The idea gained traction when anthropologist Margaret Murray, a well-known but controversial expert on witchcraft, publicly suggested that Bella had been sacrificed in an occult ceremony. The placement of her body inside a tree was also significant. Folklore suggests that witches who break a coven's code are punished by being trapped inside trees. But as dramatic as this theory sounded, no solid evidence of witchcraft or ritualistic killing was ever found at the scene. Then, in 1953, a new theory emerged, one that suggested Bella was involved in espionage during World War II. Declassified documents revealed that British intelligence had been investigating German spies operating in the UK around the time of Bella's death. Some believe Bella was a foreign spy, possibly a woman named Clara Bowerly, a cabaret singer and alleged German agent who had been working in England. The theory proposed that Bella had been gathering information, but was caught by British intelligence or double agents. The manner of her death, suffocation, rather than something more brutal, suggested a calculated execution rather than a crime of passion. However, no concrete records confirmed Clara Bowerly's presence in England at the time. Adding to the intrigue, a woman named Una Mossop claimed that her husband, Jack Mossop, had confessed on his deathbed to seeing Bella's murder. According to Una, Jack had been drinking with a Dutchman named Van Ralt when they left the pub with a woman. Later that night, Jack claimed, the Dutchman strangled her after she passed out in his car. In a panic, they disposed of her body in a hollow tree. But there was one major problem with this story. Jack had suffered from severe mental illness and died in a psychiatric hospital in 1942, before Bella's body had even been found. Another theory suggested Bella was a prostitute who had been killed by a client or a group of local criminals. Wartime England was a dangerous place, and women who engaged in black market dealings or worked in less reputable establishments often disappeared without a trace. If Bella was part of this underworld, it's possible that her killer assumed no one would ever come looking for her. Despite decades of speculation, the truth about Bella remains elusive. In 2016, forensic experts attempted to reopen the case, hoping modern DNA analysis might finally uncover her identity. However, with no remaining soft tissue and no known relatives to compare DNA against, the efforts stalled. As for the cryptic graffiti, it has continued to appear over the years. Whether written by the original author or copycats keeping the mystery alive, the question remains the same. Who put Bella in the Witch Elm? It's one of England's greatest unsolved mysteries. An unknown woman murdered in wartime, left hidden in a tree for years before being discovered by accident. Was she a spy? A witchcraft victim? A prostitute murdered in secrecy? Or someone entirely unknown, erased from history? We may never know the answer. But the question lingers, haunting both history and the landscape of Hagley Wood. Who put Bella in the Witch Elm? And why? Story 2. On a cold March morning in 1921, a worker at the O'Laughlin Stone Company Dam in Waukesha, Wisconsin, made a chilling discovery. As he looked over the icy waters of the quarry pond, he spotted something floating just beneath the surface, a small, lifeless body. Authorities were quickly called to the scene, and when they retrieved the body from the water, they were stunned. The victim was a little boy, no older than 6 or 7, dressed in expensive clothing. A gray sweater, knee-length corduroy pants, black stockings, and well-made shoes. His delicate features and refined appearance led the press to nickname him Little Lord Fauntleroy, a reference to the popular 19th century novel about a wealthy aristocratic child. But despite his fine clothing, the boy had been brutally murdered. His face was bruised and swollen, and a deep gash on his head suggested he had suffered a violent blow. Yet no one knew who he was. Police scoured the area for clues, hoping someone would come forward to claim the boy. But to their shock, no one did. There were no missing person reports that matched his description. There were no grieving parents pleading for answers. It was as if he had appeared out of nowhere. An autopsy confirmed that the child had been dead for about a week before he was discovered. The cause of death was likely blunt force trauma to the head. There was no sign of drowning, meaning he had been killed first, then dumped into the pond, either by someone hoping to conceal the crime or possibly in an attempt to stage an accident. As word of the case spread, several people claimed to have seen a woman in a red sweater and a man in a dark overcoat lingering near the quarry just days before the body was found. Some witnesses even said they saw the woman crying. But despite these potential leads, police were never able to locate or identify the couple. The most chilling part: after the body was removed from the quarry, authorities reported that a mysterious woman in mourning clothes, dressed all in black, appeared at the funeral home asking to view the boy's body. The funeral home staff allowed her inside, and as she stood over the child's coffin, she reportedly wept before quietly leaving. She never identified herself, and she was never seen again. With no missing child reports and no family stepping forward, investigators were left to piece together theories about the boy's identity and his tragic fate. One of the earliest theories was that the boy was an illegitimate child, perhaps the son of a wealthy or influential family who wanted to keep his existence a secret. In the early 20th century, illegitimacy carried a strong social stigma, especially among the upper class. If the boy's existence threatened to bring shame or scandal, someone in the family may have taken drastic measures to silence the problem forever. This theory was supported by the fact that the child was well-dressed, suggesting he came from a family with money. His finely tailored clothes and good health indicated he was not neglected or malnourished before his death. But if he was murdered to hide a secret, that would explain why no one came forward to claim him. Another possibility is that the boy was the victim of domestic abuse that escalated into murder. If he had been injured or beaten in the past, his caregivers may have feared that authorities would remove him from their custody, or worse, that they would be arrested. If a fatal blow was dealt in a moment of rage, the killer may have decided that disposing of his body in the quarry was their only option. The mysterious woman in black, who reportedly cried over his body, could have been a mother or caregiver who regretted what had happened but was too afraid to speak up. Some speculated that the boy might have been a runaway from another town or even another state. However, this theory had its flaws. Most runaways at that time were either children from poor families or orphans. Little Lord Fauntleroy was clearly well cared for before his death, making it unlikely that he had been living on the streets or in an orphanage. With no family coming forward to claim him, the people of Waukesha took it upon themselves to give the boy a proper burial. A local cemetery donated a plot, and funds were raised to purchase a small, white tombstone that simply read, "Unknown boy found in O'Laughlin Quarry, March 8, 1921. For years, locals tended his grave, leaving flowers, toys, and small tokens of remembrance. Even decades later, Waukesha residents continued to honor the boy, keeping his story alive in hopes that one day his true identity might be revealed. As forensic technology advanced, there were discussions about exhuming the boy's body for DNA testing. If modern forensic experts could extract viable genetic material, they might be able to match it with genealogical databases, just as they had done in cases like the boy in the box and the Golden State Killer. However, as of today, no known DNA analysis has been conducted, and the boy remains unidentified. Whether it's due to a lack of funding, legal red tape, or concerns about disturbing his final resting place, the mystery remains locked in history. More than 100 years have passed since that fateful day in Waukesha, yet we are no closer to answering the questions that have haunted this case for generational. Who was little Lord Fauntleroy? Was he the unwanted child of a wealthy family? A victim of abuse? Or was his death the result of a tragic accident, covered up to protect someone's reputation? And most hauntingly, did his killer walk among the people of Waukesha, knowing full well that they had gotten away with murder? The answers may never come, but the little boy in the quarry, dressed in his fine clothing, remains one of the most heartbreaking mysteries in American crime history. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos of true crime cases like this, enduring mysteries, and more, then please subscribe to my channel, The Midnight Files. I have a lot of creepy videos for you to binge, and I usually upload a new video a few times a week. Until next time, please stay safe out there, and as always, stay curious.